Hi, I'm Nick from Enemy, and we're here with Andrew WK.
Thank you, Nick.
How's it going?
I'm partying.
You're partying hard.
And I think you are too.
I am indeed.
Okay, good.
So it's been almost 12 years since the last album came out, if we're counting the Japan release. Why is it that now is the time for the follow-up to have emerged?
It was the will of the party gods, and I am just their humble, obedient slave.
Yeah.
But it's a role that I am thankful for, and I tried to do my best to serve their wishes. When I tried to record the album, those efforts were thwarted, sometimes in very surprising and rewarding ways. But once I turned myself over completely to their idea, and their idea for me, then destiny brought me here. And I'm glad just finally that there is a new album coming out.
And with that new album, we've heard the lead single, Music Is Worth Living For, and the reaction it's got over here in the UK, specifically for what happened with one driver when he was driving along. Tell us a bit about that.
There's a young man named Luke who was driving along when the song came on the radio, much to his surprise, but also delight. And anyone who's been driving with music that especially you're excited about would be familiar with the phenomenon of unconscious acceleration. And the party power seeped out of the speakers and into his foot and pressed down on the gas pedal to the extent that he was then pulled over by the police and given a speeding ticket. And he wrote about this on the computer, and I saw it. Actually, Daniel P. Carter, he saw it. And he said, well, I guess that's the price of partying. And then I said that, or maybe Luke said that, and then I saw it, and I said, or someone said, you can't put a price on partying, and Luke said, no, you can't, it's 100 pounds. Then I offered to pay that because I did feel responsible in a joyful way.
Yeah.
I was very glad that the music was powerful enough to cause him to accelerate, but of course wanted his safety and everyone else's safety on the road to be of paramount importance. And in the end, Luke was very gracious and asked that he refused graciously my offer to pay and asked simply maybe he could get tickets to our concert, our tour in April. We'll be coming to the UK, so I put him on the guest list. And in the end, the best part was that the police themselves tweeted and chimed in with a beautiful statement that I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, you may want fun and to party hard,
of course,
but we want you to arrive safe and sound to your destination. And that just capped it off. That was the real cherry on top.
But that is as weird as it is, that's a pretty good omen, I guess, for the record, that one single in and people were already reacting like that. I'm
very thankful and stunned that there's been such a passionate response. As you're recording, you almost forget that this is all leading to the inevitable release, and that other ears and other minds will encounter it, other bodies. But you can't ever expect how that reaction will go. And of course, my dream is that they'll feel the way that I feel about it, that someone like Luke would be filled with this real physical energy. And so, yeah, it's very meaningful to get that kind of reaction.
And on the new record, obviously, we've got typical big anthems, the kind of stuff we'd expect from you. But there is a few kind of slower, more serious spoken word sections. How important was to have that to kind of inspire people, do you think?
Well, that was something that came very late in the album making process. These 3 motivational speeches, which are barely longer than a minute, quite brief. I would never have come up with that idea personally. That was actually an idea presented to me by a woman I have the privilege of working with in the management capacity. Her name's Karen Glauber. But I trust her very much because she's been a believer in this power of partying, going all the way back to the beginning of my quest here, the early 2000s. And so when she said, I think you should have motivational speeches on this album, to be honest, I was terrified about the idea because, as you just said, and as anyone could hear, the music is quite dense, and it's built up with layers to try to make me feel powerful and to make a powerful feeling through sonic maximalism. But just talking is about as far away as you can get without just being pure silence. And it's very exposed, and I felt terrified of doing that, to be honest. But I could tell deep down inside that she was right. and that didn't matter if I was scared or felt uncomfortable. I had to do what was right. You have to follow those instincts, even if they go against your own feelings to an extent. It's quite strange when you're loyal to a vision. It will challenge you in many, oftentimes painful ways.
Yeah.
And I put off recording those until the last possible second, meaning we were done with the album recording, we were done with the album mixing. We were in the mastering studio, which is where you're going to literally assemble the finished tracks to send off to be pressed. And I asked the mastering engineer if I could get a microphone and quickly record these, much to his chagrin initially, but he was very kind and did set up a microphone, said he had never recorded in this studio during mastering. And I said these things quite quickly, I suppose from the heart. What I said in these motivational speaking tracks is what I say to myself when I'm trying to cheer myself on. And I'm glad that they made it against my fears.
And obviously with those kind of motivational speeches and the fact that you're still encouraging people to party hard as ever, just like with the state of America and everything that's going on at the moment, people kind of perhaps scared about Trump and all the rest of it. Do you think that this kind of record is something that's going to like hopefully lift the spirits and get people a little bit more excited again?
The human experience will always test us. And from my short lifespan, I've already seen that it's generally the best of times and the worst of times all the time.
Yeah.
And there will always be a need, almost a need that you can never fully satisfy for a type of reconnection with the most fundamental powers of life.
Yeah.
The powers that remind us of what really matters, but the powers that also give us that crucial inner fuel to face the challenges with resilience and with the sense of purpose. When we feel overwhelmed, it can be a very small but powerful jolt, such as music, that reminds us there is something at the heart of all this that is worth striving for. And I need that as much as anybody else does for all sorts of reasons. And they're usually the inner battles and the inner turmoil which will test you just as much as whatever's going on around you.
And last year we saw the emergence of the Party.
Ah, yes.
Any chance of that returning? I don't know, in 2020, Andrew WK for president?
I am the president of partying, or that's my highest aspiration at this point. My forays, my informal forays into what could be loosely described as politics have been interesting, and to say the least, and hopefully stimulating for some folks, perhaps quite disturbing for other folks. I was trying to bring that party spirit into an area where I saw a lack of it.
Yeah.
And wherever I can bring that, where it's sort of like my calling. I'm the Mary Poppins of partying. She goes where she's needed, right? And I will go where the party is not to be found.
Do you have like a Mary Poppins sense? Do you have like an umbrella or something that kind of naturally guides you to where a party is, or where?
White clothes.
White clothes.
Well, off-white, gray, bacteria-stained clothes. They have a magnetic ability to propel me to where I'm meant to be, which clearly was right here, right now. And that smell, by the way, is not me. It's just the clothes.
Okay, great.
So yeah, don't blame it on me. It's the clothes themselves.
And just going back to the album, there's a real like theatricality in those songs, and like, would you, when the live tour comes around for the UK, are you gonna have a big production that goes with it? We're gonna see like streamers and party poppers and cannons and all the rest of it. Is that something you consider?
Well, there's always streamers and party poppers and confetti in theory.
Yeah.
And whether we can manifest it in physical reality is always a challenge. We'll always give as much as we can to the show. It's the passion that counts. And whatever extra bonuses you have, even if it's just something as simple as lighting, is there to amplify the core sensation that hopefully could be there even if you're just closing your eyes and sitting in the ground listening to the music. The music is the spectacle, and you want to serve that as best you can. But if you bring some party poppers, I think that's better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And just finally, we're coming up to 17 years since Party Hard was first released. That's quite a massive amount of time for that.
It's longer than 2 years, but it's definitely shorter than 100 years.
Yeah. And in terms of keeping that party spirit going as the years move on, what do you think's the secret to partying when you get older and kind of not being getting to midnight at a party and being like, I'm done and leaving? What's the secret to keeping going?
There is no secret. The best way to keep partying
Yeah.
is by partying.
Makes
It's the only
sense.
way.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.